Let's go. Let's go.
Every once in a great while, there's a seismic shift in the world of entertainment. A moment where talent, technology, and innovation combine to change the game forever. You're about to witness unrivaled turntablism, knowledge, and sheer passion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Feel the power. Feel the bass.
Tiki Patana.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Midday Show, and we're here with our very special guest this morning and this afternoon. He is none other than Dr. Shawn Steiman. He is a coffee scientist and a coffee consultant based here in Honolulu. And thank you very much, Doctor, for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I greatly appreciate the knowledge that you're imparting to our listeners, because many of us, I know, don't know the ins and outs of this coffee industry. Yeah, so, okay, during the break, we were talking about coffee as an addictive substance. Okay, and I've read many articles before in the news, and they say that Starbucks, one of the reasons Starbucks is so successful is because they sell an addictive product. So they don't need to advertise, they don't need to do anything, they just keep selling coffee because you got to keep getting your coffee. How addictive is coffee, Doctor?
It is definitely addictive. I know many people who's really their behavior first thing in the morning is totally different until they get their coffee to prevent the withdrawal effects, right? If they don't get their coffee, there's headaches, there can be nausea, there can be a lot of grumpiness.
Yes.
And as soon as you have caffeine, right, we were talking 10 minutes, 20 minutes, once you intake it,
you're fine.
You're back
to normal.
Part of that might be psychological, but it's probably also very physical. And certainly the addiction we're talking about is very physical.
And what is that addictive, physical addiction? Is it like cocaine, where you or cigarettes or nicotine, where I've read that the reason nicotine is so addictive is because when you smoke it and the nicotine gets into your system, that it creates new blood cells, new veins, or new things that come out, and when it slowly dies is when you start craving it again. So this physical thing keeps you smoking. Is it that type of addiction?
I don't
Doctor?
think so. I think it's more that the body gets used to the caffeine. Caffeine does stuff to you, and your body gets used to that, and it sort of adapts to it. And when you take that away, your body starts to revert back to what the previous normal state was, and that translates to unpleasant feelings for the person.
Yes, but I've had times, I was telling you during the break, where I didn't have coffee, and then all of a sudden I get these headaches and this pain, and it's like a muscle tightening in the back of your head, and you feel like you're sick, and then you're taking all this medicine, it doesn't work until you go down to Starbucks and get that shot, and then there you are, you're back to normal again.
So one of the hypotheses as to why we get headaches when we don't get our caffeine fix is that caffeine dilates our blood vessels a little bit, right? So it makes them a little bit bigger. And when we get away from that, it starts to shrink, right?
Exactly.
They sort of go back to a shrinking, and that shrinking translates to a lot of pain for us, apparently.
Ah, I see.
But I read that, I don't know, it must have been 15, 20 years ago, and I really haven't followed that closely. So that could just be, the younger childish me remembering that and thinking, oh, what a cool idea.
Yes, but is it a factor that drives the success of many coffee shops and cafes?
I have no proof, but I would venture to say yes.
People,
exactly, right? People discover something they want, they like it, right? Not only are we addicted, but it's a stimulant, right? It keeps us awake and thoughtful and helps our memory a little bit. Yeah. There's a lot of good things about caffeine that people want.
Before I do my show, I always have. I try to always have it, and I go down to Fred because he's right downstairs.
Oh, I had a lot of coffee before I came upstairs. I understand. It's good to know the boss.
Get Fred. Should bring some coffee, Fred.
And there, I was thinking it was natural high.
Yeah, all along we thought you were happy to be here.
I'm just excited, right? Energetic. No, I am really.
No. Yeah. So
it's all decaf.
Yeah. So I mean, when you consult companies and these things, I mean, how do you work on an hourly basis? Is it Is that how you contract it, like a retainer type deal?
Both ways, multiple ways. Sometimes it's retainer, sometimes I work hourly, sometimes it's by the project. 'Cause I recognize that there are some things people want that they won't pay my hourly rate for, but are really valuable. So I'll do smaller project bits, you know.
Okay.
Because
Great.
part of my love is interacting with people and their sense of coffee. So
Sure.
I want to encourage them to do that. And if that means I make a little bit less money,
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Well,
It's just so much fun talking about coffee.
oh man, I love coffee, man. I mean, like, I can run this conversation all day,
Hadn't noticed.
especially if we had some here.
I know.
Fred. I know.
So if you're late, we know where you are.
I'm always downstairs trying to get a coffee before I come up here. And, you know, it's a good thing that he's a good roaster down there. I even met the guy who owned it before, and that's how I learned about downtown. Because he was roasting right outside.
Charles.
Charles,
yeah.
That's right. He was roasting right outside, and it was in the middle of, I think it was a weekend. He was outside, and you can't miss the smell.
No, it's
I
fantastic.
mean, if you're right downstairs and you're roasting, you could smell it around the vicinity. And I came up to him because I love coffee. He said, "Man, my God, man, that smells excellent." I said, "Thank you. I'm Charles and Allan." And,
Yeah.
And then, and I learned that they actually do the roasting downstairs.
Yeah, right there. So Fred does so much now. Sometimes in the weeknight, sometimes in the weekend.
So is it better if it's freshly roasted than something that's been roasted and been sitting there?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Coffee definitely changes. Once it's roasted, right, we can drink it, and then it starts to change.
What would you say is a safe amount of time to still have that freshness after the roasting before you drink it?
So I'm going to make this more complicated than it has to be.
Go ahead. You've had your coffee.
You are the doctor.
If you're
You're the
really if you're really paying attention to a coffee,
Okay.
and it's a very complex coffee also, and it you know how it you really have a strong sense of it.
Okay.
You could probably recognize that it's changing after a week from what's being roasted. I think most people, though, 4 to 8 weeks is probably what they're attuned to. Right, I'm not your average case, right? I live for coffee, literally.
Yes, you are.
So
Yeah.
I think about it much more carefully and differently than most people. So for me, it can be a week or two. I think for a lot of people who are very in business, that might be true for them as well. But for your average person, there's a lot more time for those changes to take effect for you to notice the difference.
So when you find a cafe, like let's say downtown, coffee downstairs, when they roast it and it's freshly it's really freshly roasted.
Yeah.
So it's better. That no wonder his coffee tastes good. That's
Yeah,
probably why.
it's one of the biggest things that a normal coffee drinker will discover is that the freshness makes a huge difference. Even if it's the roaster isn't great at what they do, the freshness will make a big difference.
Wow.
Yeah, in fact, one of my rules of thumb, when people ask, how do I know what a good cafe is? I said, well, they should be able to tell you when your coffee was roasted. If they can't, then you might want to not go there.
Oh, really?
But if they don't know
I did
that,
not
and they
know
don't
that.
care enough to know that, right? And if they don't know that, then you're never going to know.
What do they know?
Yeah.
As far as coffee
How
is?
serious are they?
Wow. That's it. Okay, great.
Now, if you just want caffeine, whatever, just drink whatever. But
Okay, great point. Great point. Instant coffee, brewed coffee, espresso coffee. Do you still get the same quality in any of those? Like, Nescafe, let's say Nescafe compared to coffee you would get downstairs.
Instant coffee is a tragic reality.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's really. I've had it. I've had
So
it.
you don't
so
like
that
it.
it's-
You don't like it. You don't like it.
I've
Okay, he
had it
doesn't
so
like
that it's not horrible, but
Okay.
it's never really as intense and rewarding as a brewed cup of coffee.
In the Philippines, it's very common. These 2-in-1, 3-in-1. They have it's already in a sachet. We're a developing country, so this sachet marketing is a big thing. You get the thing, and it's already inside. It's got coffee, creamer, everything on the inside. And you're right. I only have that when I don't have
Anything else? Yeah.
anything else, and I need to have that Java.
You can't beat the convenience factor.
Yeah.
Very
So big difference. But as far as instant coffee goes, is there any one brand that you would say is a great instant coffee?
So, to add to the irony of our now conversation, of all the instant coffees out there, the Starbucks one is actually probably the best of the lot.
Instant?
Yeah, they have an instant line
Oh,
called Via.
really? Oh, yeah, Via. Yeah, I know.
Which
I never have that.
Drinkable.
Oh, yeah.
It's never the same. It's never
Never
as
the
good.
same.
But I would drink it over Nescafe if that was. Those were my choices.
But how about brewed? Brewed is. Well, I mean, what? Okay, what is your preferred way to have coffee?
I actually, so at home I have 11 different ways of brewing coffee,
Oh my god.
and I cycle through
11.
3 of them on a regular basis.
Oh really? And what is the
So-
French? You must do the French thing.
I don't do the French thing, but I
Oh.
do a similar thing where it's an immersion method where you like a French press where the water and the coffee sit together for a few minutes.
Mhm.
I really like that actually.
Yeah, the French press is good.
It is very good.
Yeah.
But I also have just a high-end coffee pot, electric pot, right? You know,
Mhm.
I add the water into the thing, I put my freshly roasted ground coffee in there, and I'd walk away and come back in a few minutes, and it's brewed for me.
Oh yeah.
And then I have the third thing is that I have basically an electric pot, but I'm the electric part, where I heat the water and then I pour the water myself.
Oh really?
Right, because that's all like your Mr. Coffee is, right? It's just heating the water and pouring it for you.
Mhm,
But you can do that just as easily.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
And really one of the reasons to do that is because most coffee pots are just terrible because they don't get the water hot enough.
Ah yeah. No, I don't.
And that's the secret, right? They just don't get the water hot enough to extract it well.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of commercial pots out there that do, and of course, you know, they cost more, but when you're a coffee geek, that's what you spend your
That's
money
what
on.
you spend your
So
money
that's, well, I know. But anyways, but, you know, earlier this week I had a friend over, we had, you know, 2 or 3 other ways to make coffee just because, you know, it's fun and there's a difference.
on. Mhm, mhm.
And, you know, why not?
No, I used to have this Krups. It's a Krups
Mhm.
home made. You can make your own espresso cappuccino.
Mhm,
So that's
mhm.
and then from there I gravitated. I lost that before, and then I bought other brands, Mr. Coffee,
Mhm.
and they're okay. They're okay, but nothing really like the commercial grade Italian. You know the,
Well, in
the
terms-
actual.
In terms of an
Machine.
espresso machine, it's
Yeah.
it's the ones for home that are really good are expensive, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
not
know.
going to get away with less than $600 up to, you know,
Yeah, you,
1,500 for a good home machine.
yeah. You see, for that I'd just go to Starbucks and
Right.
pick up a cup.
Because
you
at
know,
that point,
or
like the monetary
cafe.
trade-off,
It's not.
it's not that bad.
Unless I had a cafe.
Right. Or if
know.
you made it every day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If you're going to have an espresso once a week, you're probably better off just going somewhere
Mhm.
that someone knows what they're doing.
Okay. All right. Okay. Other question I had here. You know, you were saying earlier that you know, developed countries will colonize, and then they will tell that colony, you produce our coffee, and then you bring it up to
Mhm.
us. You know, how is that working out for the actual growers? Is that economic deprivation, or is it an opportunity for the growers? You know, to live, to survive, to
That's
make
a
money?
really great question.
Thank you.
And I'm going to confess, this is not I'm not a sociologist, I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not an economist. So
Now you're a scientist.
I am a scientist, and I've thought about this a bit, but not as well as other people probably have.
Mhm, okay.
So I think it's first to mention that we don't have any more of these colonies that we used to have, right? So
Mhm,
it was, you know, things that happened in the past that we're now seeing residual of.
Mhm,
And at the time, I'm sure it wasn't very nice. I'm sure it was more of a, look, we'll buy this at a really cheap price, and here's something for you to grow.
Right.
What does it become now? Right now, it's what people know, and they've known for generations. There's so much coffee grown in the world that it's not very often responding to the supply-demand curve in a way that benefits the farmers, right? There's way more coffee than there's drinkers, so prices are low.
Really?
I think that's generally what's happening.
Okay.
As demand increases, like we saw last couple of years, prices inched up a little bit
Mhm.
than it was a few years back.
Mhm.
So that can shift, but you know, when prices start going up, someone says, "Oh, I should grow coffee because I'll make money," and then more people grow coffee, and then you shift the curve back. It can be very empowering. For farmers who produce a really exceptional product that goes in the specialty market and it's discovered, farmers can be incredibly successful.
Really?
It's
The farmers themselves at the land.
Yes.
The very basic. Because those are the most important guys. I mean, you ask me, you know, the CEO, Schultz, yeah, I'm sure he's important. But so is
without his farmers, the farmers producing that product. There's nothing
man.
there.
Absolutely. man.
Plantation.
There's we could have a whole other hour show on the economics and the social aspect of producing coffee.
Oh, maybe we will in the future.
All right.
Yeah.
And we all there's in the last 20, 30 years we've seen various ways of adding value to coffee to help the farmers in one way or the other, or help the environment. But in helping the farmers, it's actually very, very hard because right here in Hawaii, you can drive to the farmer and meet him and talk to him in a language that you understand, and they're very generally quite educated. But you know, if you want to go to some dangerous mountain pass in Guatemala and meet some farmer who, you know, has probably never been more than 5 miles away from his farm, and then he only grows a little bit. Changing his life becomes a much bigger challenge. For gazillions of reasons. You can just pay him more money, of course, but that's just because you have more money doesn't mean it's going to change everything. It can help. It will definitely help, and
makes things easier.
Right, and this is one of the reasons why Hawaiian coffee and Jamaican coffee is probably not too expensive, but everything else is probably too cheap. I think that's a great way of thinking about it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Interesting.
Right? If we paid farmers, 3-4 times the cost of, coffee all around the world than what we do pay now, right? Maybe they'd be able to start living a different life because they'd have 2, 3, 4 times the income that they.
Then they'll have to jack up the price because I gotta support my lifestyle.
Right.
I see.
So, how do we want to be as a global society? Right? It's one way to start that conversation.
All right. Another question. I have a lot of questions.
All right.
So I would have even more if we had more coffee here, but for now, I've had my shot before I came here. No, here's my other question. Okay, now you mentioned a lot about Nicaragua and South America. We all know this. These are coffee growing regions. Okay, great coffee regions. Okay, maybe it's Indonesia to Sumatra and right those areas. But as far as let's say Latin America is concerned, I know that coffee is grown in jungles and plantations, big local areas. But aren't there also incidents where a growth of other things like drugs, like coca, what they're using for cocaine, and marijuana? Are those? Do you see, in your experience, have you seen that these coffee growers are also near these things that are also being grown, especially in South America?
I actually have no experience with that whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Mostly because I just haven't been to the right places. I would not be surprised if that's part of it, right? And
because it's the same growing.
Yeah. And if I were some small farmer who could make 20 times as much growing coca as I could coffee, why wouldn't I?
Right.
And we have this problem in Africa with khat, which is a tree you chew on the leaves and it's sort of a narcotic. It's very popular in Africa.
What's it called?
Khat, Q-A-T.
Oh, really?
And if you can earn many times more from that than you would coffee, why would you grow coffee? Right. Governments want to stay away from drugs because the United States is such a strong proponent of not people consuming drugs.
Yeah.
But there's no argument you could make that's logical with a farmer, right? Other than the fact that I might come burn down your crop because I'm your government.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of the plantations as well, because one thing I couldn't understand with Hawaii was with regards to the sugar cane. Because the sugar cane is actually Jamaica's #1 selling rum.
Oh, really?
So it's like, it's either the plantation, the land is just left bare, and then the crop just dies. So I feel that it's incentive and it's innovative when they do something with the crop.
Right. Well, you need to add value, right? So the reason Hawaii was sugar and pineapple are our biggest historical crops, and it got to the point where other people, macadamias, other people could do it cheaper than we could, right? So until we add value, right, by making rum or by selling fresh pineapple versus canned, or selling roasted coffee versus unroasted coffee, right? Unless we do that, all those crops are never going to be successful here. And other places either have cheap labor, so they can grow them in a different way, or some sort of quantity that kind of supply that lower price.
And they do companion growing as well. So it's like having the coffee and then actually having another crop growing in between.
Right, being a clever farmer where you don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is not something we do a lot in this country.
And they find that it does actually help the coffee too.
Sure.
It can. But that's a whole agricultural system that we're talking about, and that's another conversation.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. All right. Okay, Dr. Shawn, I just want to say, we're nearing the end of the program here, and I just want to say, from everybody here, the management, the staff, I just want to say thank you for you coming in here and sharing with us your immense knowledge of coffee, and because it's something that I know there's many people who love coffee. And I think when we talk about something like this, it gives a lot of information to people that they may not have known, but find helpful.
I hope so.
When they're drinking that cup, or at least it's something to think about. Something. You have a couple of books. Where can we get your books?
My books are available. I mean, obviously buy them online, but if you're in Honolulu, a lot of the cafes will sell them. Some of the bookstores.
All right. The book is the Hawaii Coffee Book. right?
Yep.
The Hawaii Coffee Book, A Gourmet's Guide from Kona to Kauai. And you have another one, Coffee, a Handbook. Is that coming out yet, or has that come out?
It'll be
yet?
out this summer.
It'll be out that summer. Okay, so this Hawaii Coffee Book you can get where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's downstairs.
I like to think,
right?
yeah, a lot of
It's
cafes
downstairs.
have it, actually.
Yes. If
Go buy coffee and then buy the book.
Buy the
everybody.
book. Yeah, learn about coffee and learn about this what is it? A magic elixir that we call.
And ladies, if you want to romance your gentleman, well, it sounds like coffee.
Amen.
Coffee or whiskey. Anyway, thank you, Doctor, and I hope you don't mind in the future. I'll give you a call from time to time, and you can give us updates.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back.
Especially when we have stories like this, these issues with coffee. I would greatly appreciate you coming back.
Yeah,
again.
sounds great.
Thank you so much, Doctor. All right, that is Dr. Shawn, and thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the stay tuned for more OPM, more skits, more segments throughout the afternoon on the Midday Show, and tune in again on Monday. Let's see if we have a surprise guest coming. But anyway, 11 to 3, ladies and gentlemen, Monday through Friday, only here on KPHI, Hawaii's home of hot Filipino hits.
Thank you for listening to Midday with Allan Alvarez on KPHI Pinoy Power Radio.
You are sunlight.
Lea Salonga is coming to the Blaisdell Concert Hall.
That's where you'll find me.
Lea Salonga, tomorrow night.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Lea Salonga in A Night on Broadway.
Where the